I'd now like to turn the conference to your host, Nick Sapiri, Fannie Mae's Vice President for Capital Markets Analytics. Nick, please go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today to learn more about Data Dynamics 2.0. Before we get started, I'd like to provide a brief background on the tool as well as what we envision for the future. We launched Data Dynamics in 2016 to support Fannie Mae's single-family credit risk transfer program. It was designed to enable participants to interact painlessly with the enormous amount of loan performance data, both historical and deal-specific, that we've released in support of our CRT initiatives. The historical loan data set covers a portion of Fannie Mae's historical single-family acquisitions and is designed to be representative of the loans that are eligible for the credit risk transfer program, while the deal-specific data corresponds to both the Connecticut Avenue Securities and Credit Insurance Risk Transfer programs. Data Dynamics provides a significant level of transparency into our data, making it easier for investors and reinsurers to perform analysis that can inform their investment decisions and to monitor their CRT investments. We recently released our most significant enhancement to date, which we refer to as Data Dynamics 2.0. The platform is now powered by a loan-level backend that enables more granular analysis, allowing users to drill down into data elements that are of most interest to them. As you'll see shortly, Data Dynamics 2.0 features twice as many filters and 60% more cohorts than the prior version, enabling more tailored analysis of deal profile and performance than ever before. We're committed to improving and innovating Data Dynamics, and many of the enhancements that we'll be highlighting for you today are the direct result of user feedback. We greatly appreciate all of the feedback and recommendations that you've given us over the past 3 years. You've played a significant role in the ongoing evolution of the tool, and I encourage you to continue providing suggestions that would make Data Dynamics more valuable for your specific needs. Going forward, you should expect to see a steady stream of new enhancements, many of which are facilitated by the new loan-level backend. With that, I will turn this over to my colleague, Brian Shen.
All right. Well, let me just begin with a quick roadmap of what I plan to cover in the next 20 minutes during this webinar. First, I'll start with an overview of how the Data Dynamics platform can be a valuable resource for you as part of your investment process. Next, I will discuss the enhancements that we made and walk through how that functionality can be used in practice to better understand collateral trends in our CRT transactions. And finally, I'll open it up to any of the questions that we received through the Q&A box. Now, as Nick mentioned earlier, Fannie Mae has made a significant portion of our loan level data, both our CRT programs and our historical loan acquisitions, available to the public. So the CRT programs now comprise over 200 million unique records, and our historical data set contains approximately 2 billion unique records of data, which are only growing with each new month of acquisitions and performance. We developed Data Dynamics to make this large quantity of data accessible to all investors without the need for investing in infrastructure. Now, what you see on the screen here is the Data Dynamics landing page, and we'll spend just a moment providing an overview of the platform layout to help you quickly find the information you're looking for. Whether you're looking to complement your due diligence on a new CRT transaction in the market or just need a quick answer to a question, Data Dynamics has a dashboard to help you. Now, for the purposes of this webinar, I'll be using the reports in the CAD section of Data Dynamics to demonstrate the functionality, but it's important to note that every dashboard we cover in the CAD section has an identical version in the CERT section with underlying data from those CERT transactions. Now, as the first two tiles you see up top, the deal issuance data and deal performance data, these are sections which contain most of the CRT-specific ad issuance and remittance data. Now, as the names of the tiles suggest, the reports in the deal issuance section allow investors to analyze the credit profiles of CRT transactions alone, as well as in comparison with one another, while the reports in the deal performance section allow investors to analyze collateral performance over time. Moving on, we have the historical comparative analysis, which helps address the question of how would CRT transactions perform under historical scenarios. And this section allows users to drill into the historical comp loss analysis that we include in all of our marketing materials. Now, we also have a cool app here called the Geographic Deal Map that lets you visualize collateral trends in specific geographies for collateral reference in the CRT transaction. Lower down on the page, we have the Historical Performance Data Dashboard. Now, this section contains both the profile and performance information for the historical public data set that I referenced earlier, which covers a portion of our acquisitions from 2000 through the first quarter of 2018. And this is the data set that you'll want to access if you want to look at various historical profile and performance metrics. Now, before we dive into the enhanced dashboard, I'll just provide a little bit of context about the changes that we made to Data Dynamics. The biggest change, as Nick had mentioned, was on the back end. It's how we source the data that you see on the dashboards in front of you. So prior to Data Dynamics 2.0, we were pre-cohorting the data, which restricted your ability to cut and filter the data however you wanted. Now that we've switched over to a loan-level data set backing the dashboards, this opens the door to providing more granular analytical capabilities than we could before. The main difference you'll see for this new version of Data Dynamics is the increased filtering and cohorting capabilities. By switching over to this loan-level database, we were able to double the number of filters and cohorts that we allow users to cut the data by, and most importantly, made it possible to add new filters and cohorts should the data expand. Now, almost every field that we provide in the remittance and issuance files can now be added as either a cohort or a filter. And additionally, we've greatly enhanced the ability to visualize performance over time within the deal performance curve section. Now, we'd be remiss in not thanking the broader Data Dynamics user base, as many of these enhancements were suggestions made by you, and we're pleased that we've been able to make these changes to make Data Dynamics more helpful. Now, we'll first start by demoing some of the new features and capabilities within this deal performance data section. It's important to note that we've enabled this functionality that I'm about to show you across the deal issuance data and historical performance section of Data Dynamics. So everything that I'm showing in this section will be applicable across the other dashboards as well. When you first land on the dashboard, you'll start at the deal performance summary. And every dashboard you see will be displaying data from the most recent remittance period, which is currently April 2019. We update Data Dynamics on the same day that the new remittance files are made available on CTS Link, so we do our best to make sure that the data is not stale. If you ever want to revisit the data as of a given historical period, you simply select a different date under the remit period filter. Now, I'll quickly illustrate some of the new cohorts that we've enabled investors to group the data by. The default view is to look at all the performance metrics on a deal-by-deal basis, but cohorting allows you to regroup the data into different types of buckets. Many of the cohorts are based on the filters you see on the main dashboards. For example, if you want to look at how performance varies, say, by state, you would simply select the state cohort, and it'll begin the process of reaggregating all of that CAS data into state buckets, allowing for comparative analysis across states rather than by deals. Furthermore, you can sort by any of the calculated fields across the top you see here, and allows you to see trends in performance, such as which states have experienced the highest cumulative prepay, so if we filter by that. Now, one of the new cohorts that we added was this aggregated cohort that you see here. Now, what this aggregate cohort will allow you to do is collapse everything you see currently down to a single row, or what we're calling an aggregated view. Now, how this would work in practice is, once you've selected all the filters you wanted and would like to see the rolled up characteristics rather than the results split into buckets, the aggregated cohort would be how you would go about doing it. So say you wanted to look at aggregated performance of a specific portfolio. In this case, we'll say some early 2013, 2014 Group 1 transactions. So you just select those and click Apply. And so what this will do is recalibrate the data so that you're seeing just the deals that are pertinent to you. If you want, you can continue to drill down and look at just the FICOs that are, say, below 720 by selecting those, and you can keep drilling down further and further. And so that the aggregate cohort will allow you to do so. Now, the other thing you may have noticed is that's new with Data Dynamics 2.0 is this additional filters button at the top right-hand corner here. And once you click on it, it'll take you to an additional filters page, which puts you into an area that's designed for more targeted segmentation of CRT data. In the past, if you had specific loan features that you wanted to drill into, you'd need to go to the loan tapes in order to do so. Now that we've enabled the majority of the fields we believe investors would find useful for an enhanced analysis, we've made these available. Now, I won't run through every single filter on this screen, but just note that once you select a certain filter, this will apply to all of the dashboards on this page. And you would just need to reselect the deal performance summary in order to go back. So if you wanted to just look at BPMI-specific loans, you would just select that, and then the deal performance summary, and thereby all of the data would refresh according to that. Since we selected the early Group 1 deals, there are no loans with BPMI, hence nothing will appear. Now, let's just go through sort of an example of how you would go about using this dashboard. One thing to note is if you ever apply these filters, you can always revert back to a clean slate by using the revert button. Now, so a quick example of how this would work if you want to drill into just, say, delinquency performance on credit tails, which in this case we'll say is your low FICO, high LTV cohorts. Now, there's a few ways you can go about running this analysis. The most straightforward way would be to filter by the FICO and LTV buckets that you want to analyze. So in this case, we'll select everything with, say, 680 FICO and below. You'll just have to click Apply after each filter, and the data will reaggregate based on that. And for the case of high LTV, we'll go with anything greater than 90 LTV. And so after you click Apply, the dashboard will then update to reflect the new metrics based on that selected criteria. Now, assume you want to benchmark this pre-selected criteria across deal vintages rather than a deal-by-deal basis. What you do is go into the cohort filter, select deal vintage, and now what you're looking at is an aggregated performance of low FICO, high LTV loans based on when the deal was issued. So with this information, you can also isolate out deals that you don't want to see in this view. So in order to do so, you would go into the deal dropdown and say, for example, if you didn't want to include CO5 or CO3 into your 2006 benchmark, you would deselect those, and it'll reaggregate a new deal vintage performance based on the updated information. Now, it's important to note that the drillability is infinite, so you can continue to add additional filters to get more and more granular. And like I said before, if you ever want to just revert back, just click up top, and it'll get you back to the clean slate. So one other thing that we wanted to bring up was the glossary capability. So every dashboard has this open glossary capability up at the top right. If you have a question about a particular attribute or calculated field you see on that page, just simply click Open Glossary and you'll find a definition for that term. The definitions that we provide are dynamic and they'll change from dashboard to dashboard depending on the contents. So with that, we'll quickly just run through some of the tabs in this section. So remember, just all the filters that we discussed earlier will work on these other dashboards as well. The first up is the loss severity section. This is a good resource for drilling into specifics on loan disposition characteristics and trends, so particularly around foreclosure costs, liquidation proceeds, and the resulting net severities. The transition matrix afterwards is just beneficial in terms of looking at how loans roll from states of delinquencies from period to period. The default setting looks at loans on a 1-month rolling basis, but we've expanded to allow for 3-, 6-, and 12-month look-back periods since the deals have longer reporting histories to look back on, and that's done through the roll window filter. Now, the way to read this table is to identify the prior state that you're interested in on the vertical axis, and then the current state on the horizontal axis. So if you're interested in just loans that were transitioned from current last month to 30 days delinquent this month, you would look at the current from here and %D30 from here, and you'll find that it's 30 basis points. Now, the next dashboard on this page is the roll performance dashboard, which provides just a trended graphical view of a lot of the same data that was being displayed within the transition matrix. And lastly, on this page, we have the performance curves, which allow for a trended graphical representation for some of the key metrics that are available on the main deal performance summary. Now, I'll run through a quick example of how insights can be gleaned from this dashboard. So say you want to look at delinquency trends based on occupancy type for Group 1 transactions in 2014. You would first start by selecting the occupancy cohort, and the data will reaggregate based on that new criteria. So instead of looking at both groups, you would look at Group 1, and then just select the deals that appear in 2014 and click Apply. And by doing so, what you're seeing here is the filter that you were looking for. One key feature that not everyone is fully aware of is the ability to export all the items you see into an Excel spreadsheet. You'll need to click into the table or chart that you're looking to export and then select download in this top right-hand corner here. Once you click download, there's this crosstab feature, and it will provide the numbers you're currently looking at into an Excel file. For the case of charts or graphs that you see here, the download functionality will provide you with the numbers that actually comprise the graphs. Next, we will turn to the deal issuance section, and you'll notice for the most part we've maintained a similar look and feel between all of the dashboards, so everything I discussed prior will apply to what you see on this page as well. I'll just quickly run through some of the tabs that we have available to you in this section just to give you a flavor for what's available. You'll always land on this deal relative profile comparison page, and this is where many investors find value in looking at new issue transactions and comparing their credit profile to other outstanding deals. Now, whenever we blast out the marketing materials for any new issue CADS transactions, we also make sure to update data dynamics at the same time to help provide an aggregated view of that deal. It's here where you can see the credit profile at issuance as well as for the most recent remittance period. You can zero in on a specific population, say purchase loans, and just see what portion of the deals they compose and how their credit profile stacks across deals. And so we recently added a percent of active UPB here, so you can kind of see just percent of what the deal is and how much of that is purchase. Now, the next tab is the Profile Distribution tab, and that allows you to track all deals across certain credit dimensions and compare the UPB distribution based on that dimension. The initial view is, of course, based on FICO cohorts, but of course you can filter on other credit dimensions and drill further into how the distributions stack up. Next up is the single deal distribution, and this will allow you to drill into the credit profile and UPB distribution of just one particular deal. What this allows you to do is also cut it along 3 different dimensions and allows you to see a gridded out view of the deal's UPB distribution. Currently, we offer a selection of 5 different dimensions, but we're looking to add more fields in the future. And the last tab on this page is the 2-deal comparison. And this dashboard really just enhances what you saw in the single deal distribution by allowing you to compare one deal's UPB distribution against another's. Therefore, you can instantly see where the differences in credit profile lies from one deal to the next. Now, if we head back to the main page, even though we haven't changed any of the functionality of the historical comparative analysis, I just want to spend a few moments just to make sure everyone is aware of the information available in this report. Most of you should be familiar with our historical comp loss analysis that we provide with every deal, whereby we provide a rough estimate of what losses may have been on that pool of loans had it experienced the same economic environment and underwriting regime of the historical vintages. The historical comp analysis reports allow users to delve into the methodology as well as the subcomponents of this analysis. As well, we'll just quickly highlight the geographic deal map. We haven't really made any changes with this release, but the geographic deal map is a visualization tool that allows you to drill into the profile and performance of loans in a given state or 3-digit zip. This can help users quickly get a sense of their exposure to specific geography across deals. Now, that covers the CRT-specific dashboards within Data Dynamics. And we'll quickly highlight the historical performance dashboard down here. Again, the historical performance dashboard is just a quick and easy way to interact with the single-family loan performance data, which now comprise almost 40 million unique loans as well as billions of unique records. Now, it's important to note that this isn't a complete historical set of the single-family loan population, but rather it's a subset of Fannie Mae's historical loans that are similar in nature to the loans in CRT reference pools to give investors a more apples-to-apples comparison. Now, with that said, the historical performance dashboards have been enhanced with a lot of the same capabilities that you saw within the earlier sections that I previewed, and a lot of the dashboard names are also similar and allow for similar analysis. So it's fairly straightforward to understand and navigate. Now, all of the data tables default to looking at origination vintage, but one thing that's unique to the historical performance dashboard is the ability to also cohort by disposition vintage, and that's looking specifically at loans that have been disposed of. Now, I'll just provide a quick example of how a simple analysis you can run with the historical performance dashboard. So say you want to look at how the first-time homebuyer indicator impacted how low FICO, high LTV loans performed in the 2005 through 2007 vintage. Well, the first step would be to start with the cohort and select the first-time buyer field. And then you would want to select the vintages that you wanted to look at, in this case, 2005, 2006, and 2007. And then the last step, or the next step would be to look at your FICOs. So we'll say in this case, select everything below 700 and below, as well as your high LTVs. In this case, we'll just say 90 to 97. Now, the results of the filtering are illustrated on the screen. As you can see, there's a slight delta in performance between the first-time home buyers as well as the non-first-time home buyers, but this is sort of gives you a flavor of sort of what you can see in terms of just the profile, as well as if you want to drill into the historical performance of those. So this is the way you would go about doing so. Now, lastly, what I want to center on is just highlighting the data download features of Data Dynamics, and this is, you would do so by going to the Download CAS Data section. This is just a great place where you can easily and seamlessly download a custom set of CAS or CERT data if you really want to go beyond the functionality enabled in the dashboards. Just always keep in mind the data sets are extremely large. So we've run through quite a bit fairly quickly, and with that, I'll end there and just see what questions we have in the queue. Well, yeah, it looks like we have one question in the queue from a person asking regarding the historical data section. Why are there fewer additional filters in the historical data section compared to the CAS? Well, the reason being, so with the CAS remittance data, we provide a lot more columns available for investors in that area as opposed to the historical data section. Things like your high LTV refi option indicators, your home ready indicators, things like that are available in the CAS remittance, whereby it's not so available in the historical section. Can you explain again what is disposition vintage? Sure. The way to think about disposition vintage in the historical performance data dashboard is we're essentially looking at loans that have been disposed of and looking at that date specifically, and that, like whatever year that loan was disposed, comprises that loan-specific disposition vintage. It's particularly useful if you're looking at, say, a loss severity summary, whereby instead of looking at it on an origination vintage basis, if you want to see when loans were disposed of, and determining the severities related to those based on different criteria. So thank you for that question. Do we have any others? Can you break out 95 to 97 LTVs versus 90 to 95s? So I am assuming this is a question related to the historical data section. That is something we can definitely look to add in the future. We currently don't have it available, but it is something we could look to do. All right. With that, I think those are all the questions. I'd like to thank everybody for your time today, and I hope you have the rest of your week.